So it's October 17th, 2019. I'm at the beautiful Sebastian Inlet State Park on Florida's central east coast, and I'm going out for a 2-day, 1-night camping trip on the Spoil Islands in the Indian River Lagoon. Alright, so I've got everything loaded up here. I'm at the very western end of Sebastian Inlet State Park, and I'm getting ready to go out camping on the Indian River Lagoon on some islands that are spoil islands or man-made islands from years ago when they dredged out the channel here. And they're beautiful tropical looking islands now, and they're free to camp there, first come first serve. It's $4 a day to park at Sebastian Inlet State Park. This is about as heavy as I've ever loaded the edge of the world. You'd think I was setting off with Lewis and Clark to discover Oregon or something. So anyway, it's beautiful weather. I've got a late start today. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon right now, so I'll have time to get there. It's only about maybe 3.5 miles to the island I'm going to stop at. Then I'll set up camp and I'll do some fishing and hopefully have a fish dinner. So I just left Sebastian Inlet about 5 minutes ago, and I'm headed out into the Indian River Lagoon, just west of Sebastian Inlet, Florida. And that's the lagoon straight ahead. I'm going to head south and find an island to camp on. So just to the left of the bow are some of these islands. I've been out for about 40 minutes from Sebastian Inlet. It's about 3.5 miles to where I wanted to camp. So if I paddle hard, I can do 3.5 miles an hour. That's about the max speed, but it's pretty choppy today and I don't have much wind in either direction, and I was fighting the current going out of the inlet, so probably doing 2 miles an hour. So it'd take me over an hour to get there. And this one furthest to the north isn't the one I want to camp at, but that's what they look like. So this is the Indian River Lagoon, and when most people think of a lagoon, they think of maybe some small little saltwater bay with an outlet to the sea, something like Gilligan's Island and the lagoon. Remember, they were always, you know, the Japanese sub washed up on the shore of the lagoon, and Ginger was down by the lagoon, and they picture some little body of water. The Indian River Lagoon on the east coast of Florida is 155 miles long, so it's a big body of water. It's like a little inland sea, and it averages probably, that's hard to say, probably 2 miles wide. A mile and a half to 2 miles wide would be my guess is the average width. So it's a pretty good body of water, and you could paddle this thing forever and still not see it all. It's kind of a boring, there's just not much to see on it. You go one spot, you go 20 miles up, it looks the same. It gets a little more tropical as you get south, the water gets a little clearer. But this is where I decided to put in. I live in Satellite Beach, and Sebastian Inlet State Park's only 23 miles south of me, so it's a natural choice. I mean, I live a half mile from the Indian River Lagoon, but to paddle from there down to here would be one heck of a paddle. I wouldn't want to do it in a day. I doubt I could. Maybe one long day if you had the wind with you. But to drive, it's 23 miles, and you put in here and you only have, depending on what island you want to go to, maybe 2 miles to, you know, there's some that stretch all the way down here 7 or 8 miles. And they're really beautiful little islands. They're man-made. The Indian River Lagoon isn't man-made, of course, but years ago they dredged out the channel here to make it. It's very shallow. I think it averages 4 feet deep. So in a lot of it, if you capsize, you could just stand up. You'd be all right. Right here, you couldn't. I'm out in the middle of it. But they dredged a channel right down the middle to make it deep enough for sailboats. You know, at least 12 feet deep. And all the overburden that they scooped up, the spoil they call it, they dumped along the waterway about every 200 yards and made these islands. Now, when they first made them, they were just these dirty looking blobs of sand. But over the years, trees grew. I'm not sure if they planted them or if they were just from birds or seeds washing ashore, but now they're like these beautiful tropical little islands. You can zoom in them on Google Earth and look, and they're ringed with white sand. The Parks Department's come out and put fire pit rings on a lot of them, and barbecue grills. There's even some that have benches, and they're very beautiful places to camp. It's not, you know, I know there's guys doing canoe camping in Canada where they're out with the grizzly bears in the middle of nowhere and stuff. This isn't anything like that. I mean, I can see buildings on either side of the lagoon. So if I really got in trouble, I just paddle over to someone's house and be like, hey, US 1's right there and A1A's right there. So I'm not too far away from civilization. But some very good fishing in here. Sebastian Inlet's known for 3 things: good surfing, great fishing, and lost treasure. So I made it to my first spoil island, but I don't think you can camp here. I'm not even sure I'm meant to be on here. I want to show you something. The island, you just saw the eastern bank. That's the western bank. So I mean, the thing's about 25 feet wide. Then right there is the shoreline of Sebastian, Florida, and US 1. If it wasn't for the, well, maybe you can. If it wasn't for the trees, I was going to say you could see cars going by on US 1. So this is definitely not wilderness camping, but it's beautiful and it's great fishing. I trolled a little bit here, but I didn't catch anything. But I haven't done any serious fishing yet. I brought my cast net, so maybe I'll catch some bait. But I have some stick baits too, that, you know, just diving lures that usually do pretty good out here for redfish, snook, and trout. But they catch tarpon in here. They catch black drum, whiting. This is one of the best fishing areas on the east coast of Florida. There's another kayaker right there going by. A fishing boat. That's a big bird's nest. That's an osprey nest. So there's the brightly colored shoreline of Sebastian, Florida along US 1. And I just left that little spoil island that I don't think I was meant to be on. There's a billboard for Captain Hiram's Marina and Resort in the middle of the lagoon. And then here's some more of these spoil islands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to head for one of these down here. I already see some boats at this one, so there might be people camping there. And I might go to this one down here about a mile away and see if I can find a nice spot there without anybody. Right, I'm down to an area where there's quite a few of the spoil islands, but some of the ones I'm passing here have boats by them, so there's already people there. I'm not sure if they're spending the night, but I thought it was kind of interesting. A nice, at least 30-foot sailboat sloop sunk right there. Not sure what the story is behind that, but somebody's stream on the bottom of the Indian River Lagoon. So I thought I'd come over and get a closer look at this sailboat. It's right underneath me, but see the mast coming up here, and I'm going right, either the bow or the deck's right underneath me right now. Huh. Wonder if it's been salvaged. There's probably all sorts of nice brass and stuff on that you could legally pull off it since it's out in this salt water. And I'm heading for one of these two islands up here now because there's some people here and that's a little too sparse. I want something with more trees and more area to explore. And I just passed this one back here, but there's a lady there. I don't think she's camping, but she had her lawn chair set up. So I figured the best thing is just to pass that on by. There's enough of these islands out here, I'm bound to find one that there's no one on. And I want one that's you know, at least a half acre in size. Well, I just had a nice conversation with the people on the boat here. And these folks over here at this beautiful spoil island I found, but neither of them are spending the night here. And so this is going to be my home for the at least next 12 hours. And even have a little fire ring here right on the beach. It's kind of neat. Pitch my tent right here, or maybe I'll just use a hammock tonight. I brought a hammock too, but I don't really like sleeping in a hammock if I can. This is nice soft ground here, pine needles, and there's a little marsh back here. The only thing that worries me about this little jungle area is that there's bound to be raccoons in here, and the smaller islands don't have them, but this island's a couple acres, and I'll explore it a little bit later on. And raccoons will come get into your stuff at night. And they're not, you know, like bears or something, but they'll chew a hole in your pack and, you know, cause a problem. But still, it's a beautiful island. I'm happy to be here. And I'm close enough to Sebastian that the guy over here said, "You're going to hear the music tonight and everything." I'm like, "Oh, great. I didn't really want that, but that's all right." So this is home. It's a beautiful place, just east of Sebastian, Florida, in the Indian River Lagoon. You know, I was just looking at Google Earth, and I don't think I can camp on this island. I think it's one of the few, like every 5 or 6 one you're not allowed to camp on because it's a bird refuge. And it obviously looks like people have been camping here, but I don't want to risk getting in trouble. So I'm going to load back up in the canoe. I haven't unloaded anything yet, but I'm going to get back in the canoe and I'm going to go down to one of these islands down here. And I'm sure I can camp down there. That sucks. Oh well. It's not far away. There's another shipboat wreck up there, and there's some people that just pulled up, and I think they're stripping it. Which sounds really bad, but I think actually derelict vessels, you're allowed to do that. I know on the open seas you are. If you lose a boat in the ocean and I find it, it's not your boat anymore, it's my boat. And that's been the law for like 400 years, ever since basically they came to the Americas. So I don't think it's illegal, but if that was my boat, I'd want to know where it was at so I could come have them tow it back into some port, some marina, fix it up. There's a lot of derelict vessels out here, motorboats on the bottom, sailboats that have sunk, sailboats that have been washed ashore on the islands. Oh, I have found my spot. Picnic table, we've got a barbecue grill there. It's a bigger island, but it's I'm right on the south point of it. There's this boat right here, this catamaran, but it's a derelict vessel. It's all, the hull's really grown up with algae, so I don't know if it's run aground there. I didn't see any anchor line, so it's probably just run aground. A lot of derelict vehicles out here. But this is my home for the night, right here. Beautiful. This is better than what I would have hoped for. And further away from all the lights and glitter of Sebastian, the big city of Sebastian. So how nice is this? Besides the derelict boat sitting there, which doesn't have anyone in it, I've got this beautiful little sandy point with a picnic table, with a grill, and there's even an old Wagner ware cast iron skillet on there. I might take that home with me. And brought my own though. Wagner ware is old, they're antiques. And then there's a fire ring. I already brought this wood over from the canoe. I've got about 3 times this much, but I just put that in there to start the fire with. And plenty of areas to set up the tent. More firewood back there. And got about 2.5 hours before dark, 3 hours. It's going to be a beautiful evening. I didn't catch any fish. I did fish for the last hour. I just trolled a Yazuri stick bait behind me, but I didn't even have a strike. Kept getting hung up in grass, but I might wade out here some and try a little fishing as the evening progresses. The snook really come alive right at dusk, and the redfish too, and then the snook, they attack lures all through the night. So maybe I'll get lucky and get something, or in the morning. But I was kind of hoping to have a fish dinner, but just in case I brought 2 steaks. So, steak and beans, so I'll have food. I've got oatmeal and raisins for in the morning. So I am very happy with this spot. I'm glad I didn't stay up there. And I checked just a minute ago, and that island is off limits. Basically, I think if you see a fire ring, a picnic table, and these, you can camp. If not, you can't camp. And I checked, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the one island out of like 7 right here along Sebastian that you can't spend the night at. You can stay there, and people had obviously had a fire, but I may have gotten ticketed. I don't know. People would have definitely seen my fire from the shores of Sebastian. So that's a white ibis, and there's a hummingbird in this tree right here. I'm going to see if I can get it. There he is, right there. Hummingbird, right there. Hey, Fluky. Well, I've got everything set up at last. Found a nice island, got my tent set up, got a fire going. I'm getting ready to cook my steaks and maybe do a little fishing here right at dark, or maybe even after dark. Try and catch a big snook. A beautiful night, perfect weather.